beam into your device directly from the Bates Bed and Breakfast somewhere in Southern California. It's the Hollywood Horror Nerds, your number one source for news, speculation, and discussion exclusively for Universal Studio Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights. And now to your hosts, Undead Ed and Alvaro Bates and Mother.
And welcome back to the new episode of your favorite Halloween Horror Nights podcast, the Hollywood Horror Nerds. There are 6 episodes, and I still want to call it the Halloween Horror Nerds, but that's incorrect because we only cover Universal Studios Hollywood on this podcast. Alvaro Bates, thank you for joining us. I see you brought your mother along.
Yes, Mother and I are glad to be here.
So you haven't heard from us in about a month. I think that's right. And there's a lot going on in the park, and there's a lot of speculation flying around that I'm sure if you listen to other Halloween Horror Nights podcasts, they all got it out, the next day. Unfortunately, a lot of big speculation news dropped like 2 days after we released our last episode, and we didn't want to re-record that soon. But now we're back. We're going to use just a little update on news. This is going to be an all-news segment. We're not going to have any movie reviews, maybe a little bit at the end, but not in the way we usually do, where we can have an in-depth discussion. We didn't really go anywhere for this one, so we have no event discussion, but we have just a big chunk of news to get through. So if you hope you're excited for that, this is your official Hollywood Horror Nerds April report.
Yes, not only was I mad that a lot of news dropped right after our last episode, but a lot of things have happened at Universal since we visited.
Yes, if you remember us complaining about certain things about specifically the studio tour, we really went at probably the worst possible time.
Yeah.
We may have to go back.
I just got all the alerts of all these people and all these new events happening at the studio tour, and I was like, we just went.
We just went.
Why? Why did they have to be released after we were done?
There should have been like a warning on the tickets. You might want to hold off
a
month or two. So, but before we get too deep into the news, we have to issue a very rare, one-time only retraction, which has never happened before and will never happen again. We are always right, except for this one teeny fact. So in our previous episode, when we were discussing the studio tour, we stated that the famous Courthouse Square set that Back to the Future and To Kill a Mockingbird and tons of other movies had been filmed on had burned down in this fire that happened. And I believe you have the date for that fire.
It was in June 2008.
In 2008, there was a huge fire in the back lot. I know the Dracula sets they had preserved burned, and we believe that the courthouse set had also burned, primarily because the tour almost never seems to go there anymore. At least I haven't been there since I was a kid. But we learned that's not true. There was a video posted by Leigh Thompson, who plays Lorraine McFly in Back to the Future, where she was at the courthouse scene with Bob Gale, who is the writer for Back to the Future, and it was definitely not burned down.
No, what seems to have happened is that the square was destroyed, the courthouse was just damaged. So a lot of repairs have happened, and the facade has changed a bit, as I believe a lot of studios didn't want to film it because it was a lot of people were referencing it. Oh, that's the Back to the Future courthouse. Mm-hmm. So updates have been done to it. The courthouse is not destroyed. It was damaged. It has been repaired. It just looks different now.
Yeah, what they said we actually learned in this little Twitter video that she posted is those iconic columns from the courthouse. And like Alvaro Bates here said, no one wanted to film there because everyone said they're just going to see this and think I'm watching, Back to the Future. So they built a new facade in front of the columns, but the columns are still behind that original facade just to try to mask it a little bit. And I believe they've rebuilt the surrounding little town facade around it. So the whole thing looks as it was, and it still has that history of that original courthouse is still there.
So what you're saying is that there's a facade in front of the facade.
There is a facade of a facade, and it's amazing.
Yes, the facade works.
So that's pretty much the only time you're ever going to hear us issue a retraction. It will never happen again. If it does, I get a new co-host every episode, but we'll start churning that up a little faster. So we also have a user. We have a mailbag. We have a mailbag segment this time. We had a post on our Instagram. Again, you can contact us in a few ways. We always have the contact info at the end of the show. We'll put it at the front as well this time. You can email us directly, because I've been told that we don't put this, but we put it in every episode.
Yeah.
At the very end. You guys have to listen to the end if you want to contact us. It is Hollywood Horror Nerds, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, we are also on Instagram. What's our Instagram handle?
Hollywood Horror Nerds.
Hollywood Horror Nerds. X or Twitter is the only one that's a little weird because we had a character limit that is HW Horror Nerds.
Yes. It was the only one that it told us your name is too long, change it.
So why don't we? What's the message we got?
The message. I need to pull that up.
We don't have it up.
Let me see. What was the message? It was in our Gmail, if I'm
This
not
will be
mistaken.
Alvaro Bates' last episode on the podcast.
Please don't put me back in the dark place. The dark place is scary. While I look it up, let's move on to the next.
I remember what it is. I thought we get that cool quote. So it was about, we talked in our previous episode about Scream, and we referenced, well, Alvaro referenced how Scream was slated as a comedy. If you like looked it up as like, what's this film genre? It was a comedy, and the comment was about how it had to be slated that way and kind of presented that way, or else it would have received an N-17 rating. Was
Yes,
apparently,
okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yes, yes, yes.
which is an interesting little fact. So thank you to Dibblebop on Instagram for the message.
Yeah,
But I don't say this is not a retraction. This is an
no.
addition.
This is an addition. Part of that comment originally from myself was that it was just hilarious that it was marketed as a comedy. It's like, where is the comedy aspect of it? The only part that I felt was comedic was the fact that one of the killers, they made it, they laugh. Is that comedy?
It's funny when they're in this Henry Winkler's in the schoolhouse. He's the principal, and it keeps making you think this is when the killer's going to jump out. Does that like 6 or 7 times, and the killer never jumps out until the end. That's pretty funny. Other
No,
than that, I would agree. It's not a hilarious movie.
no, it was not hilarious. It's true to its core
But
of
at the
being a
time,
horror
it's funny
movie.
because you think about that movie now. We have Saw and Hostel and
Uh,
all these gore Terrifier, and we think that's a super gory movie. At the time, I think Scream was the gore fest. It's kind of funny in retrospect.
hmm I think part of it was also the fact that um, it's just they wanted more people to see it, so yeah, they wanted to
Yeah.
lower the rating.
Well, if it comes out NC-17, it won't get played in any theaters.
Yeah,
Terrifier gets around that by doing like Fathom events, so it's not really a wide release. It's a little fun fact, a little Terrifier fun fact. And that's it. That's it for our mailbag. So again, if you ever reach out, we'll read you on air.
yeah.
Next time we'll have it actually ready.
I'm so
And
sorry. I'm so mother will hurt me.
now, Mother wouldn't even hurt a fly.
No.
Let's jump right into our park news then, and then we'll get to the Horror Nights. So, the big park news that we referenced earlier is they're doing a huge rollout for the Studio Tour's 60th anniversary. Why is the 60th such a big deal? I don't know, because that's the one they have, and they wanted to do a promotion. But they went really big with this, where it's not just, a few little new videos or whatever on the tour. The whole park has signage all around celebrating the Studio Tour. They're really paying tribute to. I mean, the Universal, I think, is very aware that this is what launched our whole park, and they're really honoring that, which
Yeah.
I think is really cool to see. Because we talked about this last time too, but the studio tour is really what sets the Hollywood Park apart from other parks in the area and also internationally. It's really the only theme park that also has the studio tour component on it, and it's a really, even when it was not so great like it was last time we went, it's still a really fun experience.
No matter when you go, you'll still enjoy it. There, it might be lacking in some things that, especially if you've been going as we have since like childhood
Right.
to today. Obviously, things have changed. We becoming grumpy old people. We're like back in my day. But at the same time, if it's your first time going, you're gonna have a great time anytime.
So the probably the most exciting addition for me is actually an addition by subtraction, which is the Jimmy Fallon billboard that you see when you walked into the studio tour waiting queue is gone. I cannot confirm if Fallon is completely gone from the tour, but at least he's being chipped away. So that is a huge win. It's been replaced also with this really cool, very artistic it's a paint, it's a mural,
Yeah.
and it's done in a very kinetic style. It looks very retro, very 60s. I'm sure we'll throw the image up on our Instagram. But it really pumps you up. And what's cool is it also shows historical features of the studio tram that aren't there anymore. But it's really cool to see that getting paid tribute. Like we talked about last time, how the giant King Kong encounter has burned down, but now you can see that you get a little taste of it when you see this really cool art when you walk in.
Yeah, the artwork is really nice. It's different. It pays tribute to a lot of the old aspects of the park, and I'm very excited. But as we did recall when we talked about it in our last episode, Jimmy Fallon was only in our studio tour for like 5 seconds.
They're getting rid of him. So I'm glad if we can get rid of that last 5 seconds. And maybe they have. I'm really hopeful if we go back to the studio for the 60th anniversary that it'll be zero foul. That would be amazing. But I really do love how this is paying tribute to the history of the attraction. I feel like, especially, I'm going to throw a little shade here, especially at Disneyland lately, it feels like they've been getting rid of so much of the history, just throwing new IP and new stuff. And it's so great for me to see something that really pays tribute to what came before and embrace that history instead of trying to push it away.
Yeah, know where you came from so you won't be lost where you're going.
Yeah, I think theme parks are nostalgia is such a big element of it, and I think they should embrace that more. So I'm happy to see them doing that here. But enough about what's old. There's a lot new on the studio tour as well. Well, one more thing about the old. The vehicles have been redecorated to look like the original Glamour trams, which I didn't even know was a thing. But apparently it was called the Universal Glamour Tour, or it was the Universal Glamour Tram. I'm not sure when it was 60 years ago. I was
Not
30
alive.
years before I was born. But they were black and red, so they're the same vehicles, but they kind of repainted them to look like the Glamour Tram, so they're black and red instead of the normal blue and white that I'm used to.
Hmm.
I know, so not black and red, white and red,
White and
white
red.
and maybe much more aesthetically pleasing.
Black and red will
They'll
be a
be
little
black and red
off.
for horror nights.
Yeah, they definitely do look older in
It
style.
has that kind of that 60s style.
It has that 60s like diner,
Yeah, it does.
that
Like
diner look.
early 60s.
Yeah.
That early 60s vibe.
I mean they look good.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's
They
just
look
fun. It's
good.
different, in my opinion. I think it is a good aesthetic.
Yeah.
So as you go throughout the tour now, there's little nods. Now it's only been open for a few days, and
Yeah.
only for
No.
pass holders
Yeah,
by the
it's
time we're recording. So information is a little sparse, but we have enough that we can kind of tell you about it.
it hasn't opened for the general public yet. It's incoming. Right now, if you were a season pass or what do they call it, a family pass or a silver pass holder, you would I got an email because I'm a pass holder asking me if
He's
I
one of the
wanted.
specials.
Yes, I am. Asking me if I wanted to reserve a date. Unfortunately, all the dates that I was able to reserve, I was either traveling or working, and
Yeah,
so I was not able to make it.
he's not that special.
Yeah, mother thinks I am. I'm mother's special boy. No, but Undead Ed, since he wasn't a pass holder,
I have to actually pay.
yeah. And now because I think my pass is about to expire, and it's just time for a new pass, anyways. We're considering and going back to really get that
Well,
experience.
as once we tell you what's on the new studio
Yeah,
tour, I'm sure you'll understand why.
reconsideration of this.
So there's little nods throughout the sets. I only saw a few because I've only seen, pictures the press has been posting, but it seems like throughout the different sets, there's little signage that's tied in with the themes. Like if you go to the Wild West set, it looks like it's signed from the Old West. It just, happy 60th anniversary. So little nods throughout the tour. They've put more actors throughout the tour, which I think is really fun. I know in the past few years they've had a Norman Bates actor outside the Bates Motel. You can see him putting something that looks suspiciously like a body, but I'm sure it's just some bed sheets into the
Hey,
trunk of a
hey,
car.
hey! No one talks about my cousin like that.
Sure, it was just bedding
Yes.
that looks resembles a body. But that used to be the only actor on the tour for a long time. And I know in the past they used to have more. Before I was going, they used to have cowboys on the Wild West and stuff like that. They brought some of that back. The one that I've seen that got me really excited was they have a Doc Brown actor on that courthouse, the town square set that I haven't been on in years because I think the studio tour is it's been too busy. Those sets are really in demand for commercials and TV now. But I'm hoping for the studio tour, the 60th anniversary, they kind of hold that open a little more and give it more of the studio tours. I would really love to see that again. But anyways, they had a Doc Brown there.
Was it actual Christopher Lloyd?
It was not Christopher Lloyd. No, it was a much younger actor portraying the Doc Brown character. They also
Oh,
had an actual DeLorean picture car, which is a car that was used in the movie, also on the set. So that was just I love Back to the Future. That was my favorite movie when I was a teenager. So that really got me excited to see that that was an option.
Yeah.
They have new video segments for the tour. Like the one we saw that I saw the preview of was Lee Thompson and Bob Gale we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
kind of giving you the background on what the set was like when they were filming Back to the Future. I always love to see that kind of stuff. They've expanded the Jurassic Park area of the tour. That used to be a very, very small area. It used to be blink and you'll miss it. And
Hmm.
now they added last year they added some Dilophosaurs that squirt water on you, which was kind of fun.
Well, they've had this for a while. They just for the longest time afterwards, they would just spray air.
Yeah, they didn't work, but they work
Yeah.
now. So get ready to get wet. They've added a big paddock, like a big dinosaur paddock. I think there's probably some new sound effects, and they've added a T-Rex that I read was used in promotional material for Jurassic World, and now it has a home on the studio tour. So that's pretty cool.
I'm excited for that. Back to Christopher Lloyd for a second. Sorry.
You got to back up. Going
I,
back to the past now, then we'll come back to the
nah,
future.
man,
Yeah.
yes. I was just surprised when I saw that. I thought it was actually Christopher Lloyd because the actor looks very close. So I was like, Christopher Lloyd is 85, guys.
Well, he
That's
does. He needs work.
that's why I was very surprised. I was like, wow. Okay, now
So now we're going to go back to the future.
there we
So if
go.
you remember on our review of the studio tour, we were disappointed we didn't go in the earthquake set last time we were there. The reason for that is because they've kind of remodeled the entire interior of that. So it still has an earthquake effect. I don't think they really messed with the effect too much. But the subway station you go into has been updated to look a lot more modern instead of looking like it's from the 70s. It even has, it's supposed to be in San Francisco, so it has one of those little bikes where you kind of rent the e-bike for a while. It has one of those stations. I thought that was a really funny touch. It's like, yeah, that sounds like San Francisco. It's also been kind of done up to look like a movie set. So you can see, here's the director chair and here's the makeup corner and there's lighting equipment and such around. I'm not quite sure if it's meant to be you're on the set as they're filming an earthquake scene or if you're on the set of a movie and a subway and an earthquake happens. That was a little vague, but I think that's a cool addition because it kind of just places you more on the studio idea. So definitely excited to go see Earthquake again.
Yeah, that was also one of my biggest complaints about last time was the fact that it wasn't there. I'm very excited to hear about these new renovations. I'm very excited to see how they change it. I would say that it's probably they're gonna base it as a movie within a movie per chance.
Yeah,
So you're filming a movie and then an earthquake happens.
I think that's the premise,
Yeah,
which is fun.
yeah. So
So the last thing, oh no, there's two more things. So they returned the runaway tram attraction, not the runaway tram, excuse me, the runaway train.
yeah.
And in a way, I don't think the actual train doesn't actually attack you anymore, but they've added some sound effects and some lights over there to make it kind of simulate that, which is not an attraction I remember,
No, that
but
was before
it
our
was
time for
before our
sure.
time. But last time we were on the studio tour, they had an old trailer for when it was in like the 60s with Hitchcock advertising, which was fun to see. And that was the big attraction. It was like, oh, why did they take the train away? So it was cool the train's back, at least in a little bit. Again, these nods to the past, I just love that kind of I ate it up. And the big thing at the finale is now you get to step off the tram, which if you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan, you've done before. Because
Yeah.
that's always a big segment. You step off at the base motel, you can step off there now during the day. So it's exciting to be able to step off there and see what's not all done up for Horror Nights, first of all. There's also some fun photo ops around the area. They have the giant shark from Jaws kind of hanging up. They usually see by the Emmy Island set. I think I don't know if they've moved or if they have another one they brought out. You can take a picture with that. They have a King Kong photo op with a giant Kong hand reaching out. They have one of the original glamour trams there you can take a picture with. They have a replica of the Hollywood sign that they're making a big deal about because it's apparently the first like official replica that's ever been made. So that's apparently a big deal for people. And some picture cards from the Fast and Furious. So if you're looking for something to get on your Instagram, some fun photo ops there.
Yes. It's always good that they've changed it. And to be honest, though, I'm Fast and the Furious, not my best series that I like. I'm okay with.
No, they did not unfortunately get rid of the supercharged at the end of the tour. Again, if they remove Jimmy Fallon now, you're so close to greatness. If you can lose the Jimmy Fallon and the supercharged, now we're at like an S tier attraction. So we're so close. We're so close.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a really exciting additions to the tour. It definitely makes me want to go back, even though I was just there reading all this, seeing the pictures and the videos being posted about it.
And then
Definitely made
getting
me want
off
to be
during
able
the
to get off during
ride.
the day. I mean, we've been there during the day, but getting off when it's not dressed up like a horror maze, you can just see the set as it is. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the aspect of being because they get off at the square, if I'm not mistaken, or they
I
get
don't think
off.
they get off of the square now.
Oh,
You
is
get off
this?
at the Bates Motel.
Oh, the Bates Motel. Yeah.
I imagine they do that because they already kind of have the unloading. The ops are figured out for Horror Nights. They said if we're going to unload and reload, let's just do it at the same place we unload for Horror Nights.
No. Oh, okay. It's still exciting, no matter where you
Very exciting.
offload.
It's just fun to be on the sets. You usually have to pay a lot extra to be able to do that. So to be able to
Hmm.
do that with just the price of a ticket is something that's pretty special. They
Yeah.
also have some new food options throughout the park, kind of celebrating the studio tour again. They looked mostly meh. It looked like it was a lot of the food that was at the Jurassic Cafe that we didn't like, just being pushed out to other, like, just, oh, it's the burger and the chicken sandwich and the brisket sandwich. Are the same foods at every place now. There were some interesting additions I thought at the Mel's they have at the upper lot. They have a mid-century meatloaf and fried chicken. That's supposed to be kind of a harkening back more of the 50s diners, kind of keeping with that retro nostalgic vibe.
Hmm.
I thought that was cool.
Mel's is already retro.
Mel, so they're really doubling down on the retro. Again, I know last time we were there, the food was kind of a miss for us, so I'm hoping maybe
Yeah.
these temporary offerings might bring that up. That's why I wanted to mention it.
And who knows, some of these temporary offerings might become permanent.
If it's popular, it might stay. Although I suspect the fried chicken is probably just going to be the same thing you could get at the Cletus Shack, so who knows what that's really going to be. Although it's, I mean, that's good chicken, so at least
Yeah.
it's something.
And then we will, eventually Cletus Shack is going to be replaced because, as
We
everyone
feel like Simpson
knows,
Land isn't long for the world.
Simpsons is now owned by Disney.
Yeah.
So,
So that's kind of it for the studio tour updates. Any final thoughts before we move on?
I'm very excited. I want to go back to my family's hotel and visit my cousin.
Hmm. Helping with that bed sheet.
Of course, you don't. You it's see the thing is, people who don't work in hospitality don't know the troubles of some guests. And
Well, I
and
hear those hotel rooms get really messy. I get there with some bleach and a
yes,
mop for hours to clean it up.
the cleaning process is tedious, and it's not a lot of people thank you for it.
Hmm.
But it's a thankless job, but someone has to do it, and it's a family business going on for several years now.
Yeah, the Bates have been in the motel business since the '60s, I believe.
Yeah.
All right, so let's sit back to the park for a second. They've opened a new ice cream parlor in Hogsmeade, which is the Harry Potter area. They put it inside Honeydukes, which is the candy shop there. Right when you enter, it'll be on your left. And it has some very unique flavors that you won't see at normal ice cream stations. Pistachio really stood out to me. I've never even thought of pistachio ice cream. They have toffee apple and Granny Smith apple, so two apple kinds. And of course, the one getting the most traction is the butterbeer flavor. And I remember last time we were there, just for the last episode, probably the ice cream was maybe the best thing we had.
It was it
And they already
was
had like three different ice cream stations throughout the park, but they were good.
yeah, they were cheap and there was a lot.
Yes. So I'm kind of interested in going back to try the new one as well.
And going back, what do you mean you've never thought of pistachio as a flavor?
I've never thought of pistachio ice cream
Pistachio
flavor.
is a cemented flavor. I love the pistachio ice cream flavor. We've just not had it at Universal, but
Well, now you can have it at Universal as well. All your dreams are coming
you know
true.
what? Come stay at our hotel. I'll show you pistachio.
So the Glamour Train is not the only thing being updated in the park. For a limited time, they're introducing the Fall Guy Stuntacular pre-show and from the Waterworld show. This is a little more limited. It starts on the April 27th. It only runs to May 19th. So Fall Guy, you just looked this movie up. It's Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. It's kind of an interesting movie because it's like an action rom-com,
Yeah, it's
which you
a
don't see that mix. It's an
no.
uncommon mix where he's a stunt guy and she's the director, and they used to date, and then something crazy happens. He has to save the movie doing
Yeah.
stunts. So I don't know. It's intriguing.
It's a movie within a movie, and the idea of Ryan Gosling, it starts with him like disparaging himself, saying he's not the lead, he's not anything, and it was like,
He's not enough.
yeah, he's not enough. But as the movie progresses, I'm assuming he finds that inside he was a 10,
Yes.
and he was enough.
Well, Alvaro here is our resident expert on all things Ken dolls. And as a resident expert on all English women, I'm excited to see another Emily Blunt movie. She's always pretty good. Although I'll say if this for this stuntacular pre-show they're doing, which is supposed to feature an original storyline featuring behind the scene looks at stunt performers, I don't know if that's really gonna have much of a story in it.
I mean, they're
I
probably
think
just
they'll
gonna.
probably just do stunts.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're probably gonna do stunts and be like, look, look how I shoot him in close range. Bah.
Oh, he doesn't die. Wow. Movie magic.
Movie. It goes back to that area that was taken down and how they do all the Hollywood the behind the scenes of the knife scenes of how people cut. What was
That
that?
was a
Special
cool. The
effects
special
show.
effect show
The
was cool. If they
special
bring
effects
some of
show.
that back, that would be really
Yeah.
cool to see. Again, I've never seen the Waterworld show.
You've never seen
I've
it?
seen the Purge show they did last year, which I've heard is very similar.
Well, yes and no. The difference is that there's a plane.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have to go back and see the Spectacular pre-show, the new tour, and Waterworld for the first time.
Undead Ed, I'm so surprised. We've been going separately to Universal for
Yeah,
so many
I
years.
just don't care about Waterworld.
You've never seen
I
Waterworld?
don't care about
See,
Waterworld.
I don't care about
But now
Water,
that they have the Fall Guys Spectacular pre-show, especially if they're going to import actual English women to play the Emily Blunt role, then I'm all there.
but only if they're importing
And
English women.
it has to be authentic, English blonde girls and real Ken dolls to play the Ryan Gosling part. Otherwise, why are you even bothering to do this?
See, yeah, Freddie Prinze Jr. walked so that Ryan Gosling could run and be enough.
So maybe you'll hear a review of the actual pre-show. I don't know. I don't know if this is very interesting. They have a photo op too.
Yeah,
It just kind of caught my eye. I don't. It seems like an interesting movie. We're not getting paid to promote it. Maybe we should be.
we should
But I'll
ask.
send an email. Our last bit of park news, which is kind of edging into the Horror Nights territory now. It's been 25 minutes. We haven't even touched on Horror Nights.
Ah,
We told you there's a big news chunk here that we had to
yeah.
get out. So this is why this is its own episode before we put out an official episode. They've opened a Universal Monsters tribute store on City Walk, which is right by, I believe, ET parking as you walk in.
Yes.
And they call it a tribute store because the whole store is themed where you walk in. Doesn't look like a Target or a CVS. It looks like you've stepped into Dracula's castle or Frankenstein's laboratory. But instead of making a monster, they're trying to sell you merchandise. And of course, all the merchandise is also themed to the Universal Monsters. So we weren't able to go last time we were at the park, but the pictures looked amazing. It looks like just a fun place to just kind of walk around and take it in before you buy something that's overpriced.
Don't say that. We were not going to get those press passes this way.
And as a Universal Monsters aficionado myself, I'm excited. Maybe I will actually buy, a cup or a mug or a T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
So I see my friend Alvaro here's actually looking at the pictures. What are your thoughts?
It looks amazing. I think when we went last time, it was still under construction, or was it just closed? I
I
can't
think we were
remember.
just lazy when we left.
Yeah, that could have been it. We were tired.
It was a big day.
It was a big. We had a big day. Now the store looks great. It looks like it looks like someone's castle
Yep.
with a chandelier inside and everything kind of gray. It's giving a vibe.
Yeah. So I'm excited to go check that out. Again, it's adding to our reasons to maybe go back earlier than we were anticipating.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's all that's new in the park, which I feel like Universal Studios Hollywood usually doesn't have that many updates. I feel like it's a pretty static park, so it was funny that all this seems to be crammed in. It's all happening at once. I think they're really pushing to really get to that next level where they really want to compete, I think, stronger with Disney than they have in the past.
Hmm.
Especially with, the Olympics are coming to LA
And
in 4 years. I think they're trying to get ready for that and
what is
try
it
to
in
boost the profile.
4 years, 2028?
Yeah, yeah, it's in Paris this summer, and then it'll be in LA for the
Yeah.
next round.
To be honest, I'm not looking forward to it
The
because
traffic.
traffic.
I
However,
plan to be out of LA by the time the Olympics come.
I want to be out of LA the entire summer. I just don't want to be here for
I mean,
that.
they have 4 years, so maybe just tear all the freeways down and try to start over is probably the best bet.
No, actually, there. This is not Hollywood news, but they actually.
This is the real Hollywood horror.
This is the real horror in general. However, they are expanding the metro. Um, they've added lines that reach from Central Station in downtown LA all the way to UCLA, Santa Monica, and Venice.
Let's hope there's not an earthquake. Mm,
You mean? I mean, we live on God's etch a sketch.
yeah.
So,
All right. So enough of actual terrors. Let's talk about fun Horror Nights news. So there is a bit we didn't talk about the news on the last episode, also because we just forgot about it. So we're going to cram in some updates from March and a few from April. So let's talk about the news, and we'll talk about kind of our updated speculations.
yeah.
So there was a tease. There's a few Murdy updates. Remember Murdy? He's the guy who writes all the mazes. He oversees this whole thing. I think it's cool. It's all kind of done by one guy because it's kind of the event, kind of an auteur feel. You don't
Mm,
usually get at this kind of major corporate event. So we like Murdy. We hope he sticks around for a long time. And we also like that he uses these fun little teases on Twitter. So he tweeted about Maze 7 back in March. He said he spent time researching the Illuminati symbol and other triangular symbols for this one. So he's alluding to something with secret societies. He said he had to research the history of a real place, but whose history is mostly fiction. Very cryptic.
Yeah, that could be a lot of things because a lot of places have real history that could be shifted and made,
Well,
artificial.
let's see if this narrows it down for you a little bit more. Someone asked him, is this an original maze or an IP maze? And he said, it's kind of an original take on an existing IP. His example was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Blood Brothers, which is a maze that has the characters and kind of the events, not the events, it has the characters and the setting of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre world, but he
Hmm.
didn't directly recreate any scenes from the movie.
That sounds like they're trying to get around IPs.
What else? Like he has the right to it. He just doesn't have the right to like this specific movie.
Yeah. Well, again, he's trying to get around IPs.
So it's
But
interesting. Well, we're going to talk about updated speculations in a minute, but this that keep that in mind when we get to it. The other big rumor floating around out there is about Ghostbusters. So there's a huge rumor that Ghostbusters is going to return to Universal Orlando Park in a more permanent capacity. I didn't know this, I've never been, but I've learned that Ghostbusters was a show they had for a few years when the park opened over there in Florida, and then it went away, and now they're talking about bringing it back, either as a show or a ride or part of a parade or something. And this rumor came from someone who I don't know them, but apparently they're a pretty prolific person who leaks stuff out about the Orlando park, and they're pretty reputable, so people seem to believe this one. And this really kicked up speculation that Ghostbusters is going to come back to Horror Nights this year as a maze. And the rumor specifically said it would be based on the movies from the 80s, not the new movies that have come out, not the 2016 or the Afterlife Frozen Empire one. Frozen Empire just came out.
yeah,
I think it's probably a good move. Frozen Empire did okay, didn't really kill it at the box office. It kind of just came and went.
yeah. Did you go watch it?
I did not. I
Same.
said I would go see this if it got like great reviews, and it got like good reviews.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
got okay. It was
it got
okay.
okay reviews.
Yeah,
Did not feel the need to go see it, but I did. If they got another Ghostbusters maze based on the ones from the 80s, I'd be very excited for that. I really love the first one. The second one, I think. If you could do one adapting more of Ghostbusters 2, maybe throw some original stuff in there. There's a lot you could do with the world that I think that would go great in a
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see the original Ghost. The was it the Pillsbury Doughboy?
maze. Stay Puft,
Stay
Marshmallow
Puft, Stay
Man.
Puft, Stay Puft. There you go.
Not a real brand of marshmallows.
No, but
Should be.
it looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy in a way.
He does. He's definitely based on.
Again, trying to get around IP. No, I'm excited for the original. To be honest, the original had that nostalgia feel that they're really going for it with its 60th year anniversary coinciding with Horror Nights. So I wouldn't be surprised that they wanted to go with that instead of the modern ones, which don't have that kind of like legacy yet.
Mm, I think so. I think if you're just trying to draw people to the event, because the movie's come and gone at this point, you don't need to
Yeah.
promote the movie. You just want to promote the IP and bring people to the event. Sticking to the Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd 80s movies, that's the way to go.
Yep.
So our last bit of news, well, not really, but the next bit of news is another Murdy update. He did a Twitter Q&A around St. Patrick's Day. So again, this is kind of old, but it's going to play under speculation. So please bear with me, folks. So he did a Q&A where people were able to ask him questions, and most of them he just kind of replied pretty cheekily. But a few of them he did give real answers for. He was asked if he was going to adapt another Orlando original maze like he did Scarecrow's. I think he did Scarecrow 2 years ago, and that was a pretty fun one. So Orlando's known more than the Hollywood part for doing these original mazes that are much more elaborate. And Hollywood, I feel, has been dipping more and more into doing more originals and less IP, although it's still an IP focused event here more so than at Orlando, because you're in Hollywood, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
You can make
I
it.
do prefer it that way, but I do like to see one or two strong originals every year. But he was asked if he was going to adapt another Orlando one. He said no plans, so not happening this year, and probably not next year either.
Yeah.
He said there were going to be no direct repeats of a maze. We're not going to see the same maze season before, like Killer Clowns appeared like 2 years in a row, the same exact thing. So that's not going to happen this year. But he didn't rule out having like a remix, like we had Holidays in Hell that was the same maze with a new segment at the end, or a sequel to a maze could also happen.
Well, they truncated also holidays in hell to just the Christmas area for the one part.
Well, that was the only addition. The
Yeah,
rest of
that
it was
was.
still there.
Yeah.
He was asked about locations. I thought this was interesting. He was asked about the locations of mazes and whether we should expect some new locations or some old ones coming back. He said to expect the unexpected. I'm not sure if it's just him trying to be cheeky again or if we're going to get some new locations.
I'm hoping for some new locations
It would
because
be interesting.
I definitely loved it. I think it was like 2019 when we definitely got to do a lot more walking around the
Hmm.
sets. If there were a
They
lot
haven't done
more,
it in a long time.
yeah,
But you
it,
can imagine if they're trying to close down the metro sets to let the studio tour go through that for this anniversary event, that also means they're close to filming, which means we could see those come back. Possible.
no.
More possible than it's been in a while. That would be great. I would love to be back on the metro sets for one more year.
And it's probably also why they're ending it as soon as they end the tours for the anniversary. They're gonna start really heavily building all the tents up again.
Yeah, they've already started construction. I don't have any good news because they just started it, but they've constructed by the Mumming that's going back up,
Mm-hmm.
and they've started by the I think they've started the Parisian Square actually, so I think that might be closed off
The Parisian
already. I think
Square.
that's already closed.
Okay.
Not totally sure. This is kind of why
Speculations
I'm
again.
realizing I need to buy Universal Pass and start going back every few months so we
We
can
we should get the one
keep
that
these news updates going
that
out.
provides free parking.
Yes. And he said the last item from this Q&A that I got is at least one maze has a historical setting. Is this referring back to the one that's a real place with a fictional history?
Could be.
Could be.
He's being cheeky. We'll find out.
He's a cheeky guy. He has fun with these.
He likes messing with us, and I enjoy it sometimes. But I also am like, give me a solid answer.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking before this started. It feels like they're being very slow rolling out these maze announcements.
Especially,
Last year we got Chucky was announced like the day after Horror Nights ended.
yeah,
So they're definitely behind the eight ball. It feels like we should have had one by now.
yeah,
Excuse me.
and especially considering that Orlando already has the ticket releases and the prices.
Yeah. Although we always release tickets in the summer for Hollywood because we
Yeah,
sell out a lot faster than Orlando does.
that's true. I'm really hoping that they do some kind of way to stop as many people being able to purchase in a day. Some kind of
They're not going to do that.
population control.
They're going to raise prices.
Oh, that's probably going to be the population control they're going to move for.
Yeah. So that's it for all my Twitter news. Now, the huge bit of speculation that we talked about this dropping like 2 days after our last episode dropped was the speculation map. The first speculation map of the year dropped in March. So those of you who aren't total Horror Nights nerds that you're following the speculation every year, these are pretty well known in that very niche community that we're a part of now, where there's this group called Horror Night Nightmares that puts these out where they gather all the speculation that's been going on the web. They have a few sources, I think, of their own. These are not 100% accurate, but they kind of collect who are the most reputable leakers. I suspect all these people who leak out these mazes ahead of time actually work for Universal, and it's a planned thing where they said, okay, now leak this maze so that we get some hype building in this niche community so that it
No.
can explode. So some of these leaks are pretty reputable. They've been leaking for a long time. Others of them, not so much. Usually when these speculation maps come out where they've collected everything and show here's what we think these mazes are going to be, they're never clear. So they've done little symbols this year to kind of have it's a bit of a guessing game, which gives them cover because usually when they just put out we think it's going to be all these mazes, they're wrong. It's never 100% correct. And also I think it's more fun for us to have to kind of guess and speculate based on it. So that's what the speculation map is. They have one for Orlando, that we're not going to talk about because we are exclusively here at Universal Studios Hollywood. And
Yes.
the one for Hollywood we are going to talk about. So I have a massive Twitter post where I broke this down. My friend here, Alvaro Bates, was lazy and did not do that. So he's kind of looking at this for the
I'm
first
sorry.
time.
Do you have a hotel that you take care of? I don't think so.
And in his poor alien mother in the basement. So we're going to go through them. So I kind of went through these. We'll describe briefly what the symbol is so you can imagine it. We'll put this on all our social media as well. I think it already is on our Twitter. We'll throw it up
It's
on
in
Instagram
Twitter.
for this episode. So you can kind of play along if you want to. So I rank these in order of what I think is the most obvious to the one where I'm kind of just shooting in the dark. So I
Hmm.
thought the first one, so there's three different colors of things here. There's purple. Purple, I believe it means it's a show. Green means it's a scare zone, and red means it's a maze. So the most obvious one I think is this purple one that looks like a house, and it is identical to the Bloomhouse logo. I posted this also on our Twitter, where if you just compare those side by side, the silhouette of this house is exactly the same silhouette as the Bloomhouse logo. It's in the DreamWorks Theater where they had the Horrors of Bloomhouse last year. So I think they're just saying Horrors of Bloomhouse Part 2. Get excited for Five Nights at Freddy's and Making Part 2 preview.
I'm sorry. Did you say orange is red?
Did I say no? Right? Red.
Okay.
Yes. Deep blood red.
Oh, the
The
blood
blood
red.
red.
Ah,
The blood
I
red.
see orange. I was like, is Undead Ed needing color correction glasses?
But
Yes, that looks like it could be it. The Blumhouse logo is very detailed. However, we know that one thing for sure is not coming, which is Five
well,
Nights.
let's wait. Okay, so he's jumping the gun, but yes, there's a heavy rumor out there that Five Nights at Freddy's is not coming as a maze, which is funny because
Because
we,
that
we
was my
thought it would,
rumor.
but we're I'm not going to issue a retraction on that just yet. I believe it was Alvaro who specified he thought that one was coming.
I thought that was a for sure hit,
Yeah, we thought that was a
and
lock.
yeah,
But that's a funny one because the guy who made that IP, Scott Cawthon, he keeps a pretty tight grip on it. So it's very possible that they could have been negotiating for it. And he just thought, maybe this is not a good fit.
no,
I don't think he could have said it's going to be scary enough. I just don't like the event.
it
We
could be
get these guys
numerous
who own
reasons.
their own IP. They're very finicky about it. Like J.K. Rowling owns the Harry Potter IP, and it took a while for her to warm up to this idea of having it open at all during Horror Nights.
Yeah.
So yeah, no Planet of Freddy. At least that's the latest speculation. The speculation is never 100% accurate.
Until you show up.
Speaking of J.K. Rowling, the next one I thought was super obvious is there's a skull with a snake going through it in the
Yes,
Hogwarts area. I think this is just the Death Eaters will be back. Looks like the Death Eater logo that they
it
have in
is
those
the Death
movies.
Eater's logo. It's
Yeah,
the mark of he who must not be named.
yes. We will not name him on this podcast. We're very PC.
Since when?
But yeah, I think Death Eater coming back. That's a lock. I think we all do that. The next one we just talked about this is Ghostbusters. There's one of these houses has the Cadillac logo, and the Cadillac logo is also on the Ecto One, which is apparently a caddy hearse. That's of course the Ghostbusters iconic vehicle. So unless they're making Maximum Overdrive into a maze, which would be really fun, but I kind of doubt it. That's a very niche property. That's like Horror Nights. I think yes, they're saying Ghostbusters is going to come back, which we just talked about. We won't belabor it, but I'd be excited for it.
Well, isn't there a movie about a murder car?
Christine, I do not think is a caddy,
Ah.
unfortunately. I think I looked this up when I was doing the Twitter post. The next one that got me excited is a bug. And if you remember my speculation that we did that speculation episode, I said I think Larry Larva is going to get a full maze. So I looked up what does a larva look like, and it looked exactly like this little bug. So I think they're saying yes, we're going to get the full Larry Larva experience in his own glorious maze.
Gross. I don't like it.
The
I don't
gross
like
is
it.
part of the fun when it comes to Mr. Larva.
Ew.
So I'm hoping that's a confirm. The next one is a symbol that looks like a mute, like if you mute your TV, where it has the speaker with a big line through it, in the mummy tent. So I see two ways this could go. I'm hoping it's Silent Hill,
Could be.
because this was one of Alvaro's speculations. I think that would be a really fun one for the event. I like the video game theme, scary IP, really
Mhm.
fun designs. Could also be a quiet place. A lot of rumors about a quiet place this year.
Yeah.
I'm just not buying them because I can't see that being good.
No, because
It wouldn't be quiet. It would be a
yeah,
loud place. This is a loud event.
yeah,
Even if you don't have the sound effects in the maze itself, people in the going through will be talking constantly, very loud. It would be
yeah,
bad. It would just be bad. If they try it, I'll go into it with an open mind. I just don't see how you could pull off what they do in the movie.
yeah. Especially considering that in the movie, for the most part, in the original A Quiet Place, they hardly talk. It's not like you can have audio playing in the backdrop going of them talking about what's
Right.
going on. No, because there's not that much.
Yeah, you put up a video of John Krasinski doing sign language, which was cool in the movie, does not work in a maze.
No. So maybe Silent Hill
So
is
let's
a
hope. I'm hoping this one's Silent Hill. I think also again because this is just based on speculation. I think they see speculation for Quiet Places out there. Doesn't necessarily mean they have a source that says yes, Quiet Place is happening.
yeah, but it probably tickles them pink that we're speculating so hard on it.
The next one is a skull that has some fangs in it. It looks like a human skull, but with fangs coming out where the teeth should be. This is definitely screams some kind of vampire. You know, any human with fangs, definitely vampiric. I think Dracula. I think this ties into what we were talking about earlier about the real place with a fictional history could be Transylvania. Because Transylvania is actually a real place. It's not made up. When you think about Transylvania, you think of vampires
And
and
Dracula.
Dracula and these magic and things that aren't real. So a fictional history, I think that makes sense.
What are you talking about fictional history?
Uh, it is an existing IP. You know, there's a Dracula Universal Monsters IP, but when he does these Universal mazes, he never really adapts to the movies. He does his own take, so it fits there as well. You could see maybe there's some kind of secret society that Van Helsing's a part of trying to hunt Dracula, or Dracula's a part of the Illuminati. So I think that fits pretty well.
It would make sense if Dracula was the Illuminati.
The vampire Illuminati.
You can't. The Illuminati would be so consistent considering that its founding member never
That
dies.
would make sense. I've also seen speculation online that this is referring to The Lost Boys,
Interesting take.
another vampire movie, I believe from the 90s. But I haven't seen anything backing that up other than people are like, I really like the Lost Boys. I hope it's the Lost Boys. I haven't really seen like an insider confirming that or even leading towards that. So I'm very skeptical towards those claims.
I'm excited to see whatever. I like vampires.
Anything vampiric, I think you can't
No.
really miss. The next one is this house that's just a flower. This one's tricky. So it's in the Parisian courtyard, which we know from earlier Murray episodes. You remember a few episodes back, he said we're going to keep doing kind of that Day of the Dead theme in that area
Mm-hmm.
with the Latin American maze to match. We know this is the Latin American maze. We also remember in his earlier clues that we talked about, he said something about it's about gardening and a specific flower in a tree. So it's almost certainly what that's referring to.
Yes, and if everyone remembers, I made a dumb speculation that I thought it was zombies and flowers.
Plants vs.
Plants
Zombies.
versus zombies.
Still alive with the flower thing here.
Yeah.
It doesn't really scream Chupacabra. I'm still holding on hope it'll be Chupacabra, but seems like it's getting less likely with the flower thing being more prominent than the goat.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plant versus Zombies is still
Plant
on.
vs. Zombie is still alive. It's still happening. Of course, we have the tram. It's just a picture of the tram, so they're saying the terror tram will come back. However, I think with all this stuff celebrating the history of the tram during the day, I think this would be a great year to bring back Hollywood Harry because he's so tied in. His backstory is so tied into the tram, and I think he's a fun character. We haven't seen him in a few years, so I'm still hoping I'm still on the Hollywood Harry hype train.
For those of you who haven't heard of Hollywood Harry, explain to us more of who
Well, you
Hollywood
need to
Harry
listen to our
is.
older episodes. You need to listen to our speculation episode. But he's a character. I think he was either an actor who was like a clown that would appear. So we mentioned they're bringing actors back on the tour. That used to be a big part of it. So he was supposed to be an actor who was a clown on the tour, but then he went nuts and started killing people. And
Hmm.
now he's kind of an urban legend that stalks the back lot. And then at Horror Nights, he takes over. And you walk through his kind of demented children's program. But it's just stuff jumping out at you. It's
That's
fun, but he's a fun character.
I believe that was the first Hollywood Horror Nights that we went
I think
together.
so.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was
No,
the second. The
was
first
it?
time we went, it was Chucky.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's still in my memory. It was one of my favorite ones.
it's definitely very. He's been two or three times, I think, and it's always
Yes.
fun. It's just fun to have that original character tied to the event,
Yeah.
and he's so tied into the history of the tram, like I just said. This is the year to bring him back. So
If
still hoping.
if you're scared of clowns,
Hollywood
definitely
Harry's
show
not the
up.
character. Next, we have just unknown IP. That's all it says. Just the word unknown IP in one of the sound stages. I'm thinking Beetlejuice for this. I think Beetlejuice just makes a ton of sense synergy wise for this event. I think that's going to be a huge movie. We never got Beetlejuice in Hollywood. I really want to see it, so I'm holding out hope for that. What do you think for unknown IP?
I mean, if they're really going with the nostalgia factor, the fact that this the 60th Diamond Jubilee of the tram, perhaps they would really go in because I believe this is the 40th year anniversary of Beetlejuice. So it makes
Yeah,
sense
it does.
why they would be making it, especially with if Ghostbusters also has quite a
Yeah,
bit of a age into it. So
I mean, if you do Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice, and then if you throw Lost Boys in, you can have such a strong, 80s event this year. It'd be
Yeah,
super fun. You could do
exactly.
this whole. Actually, now that I'm thinking of that framework, you could do 80s for I think all of these attractions. It'd
Yeah.
be super fun.
I'm excited. I'm excited. This year, I am very excited. Definitely looking forward to it.
One that really intrigues me is the one they put over the Waterworld show because it looks like some kind of castle tower. It does not look like the Purge. So I could see this going a few ways. They could say this is just meant to be the tower in front of Waterworld, and it is just the Purge is coming back. Or it could be a new show that isn't the Purge. But I'd be very hyped for just not Purge in that area. It was a fun show. I'm just so burnt out on Purge at Horror Nights. I don't really like the movies. I thought with the castle, it made me think of Frankenstein's Tower, the original movie. And you could see a show that's themed to maybe Frankenstein's retreated to this remote laboratory on an island, and he's making his monster when the vampires and the werewolves start attacking. He has the monster has to animate to fight them off. I think that could be a really fun show.
Yeah, I think they really want to. They're probably going to steer away from Purge, considering that this is an election year, and that's the
Nah,
thing that they don't want to tie
don't get
into.
too
Yeah,
controversial.
yeah, too controversial. They don't want to mess with that, so they're really gonna probably push away from anything that's related to politics.
And I'm just so burnt out on Purge. The next one I'll talk about is just a knife. It's a bloody knife. So I think this could be one of two characters. It's just the classic kind of butcher's kitchen knife that anyone. I mean, I have one. Everyone has one. There's two slasher characters that really scream kitchen knife to me. The first is, of course, Michael Myers. That's his iconic weapon of choice,
Yeah, but this isn't just a kitchen knife. It's a bloodied kitchen
and
knife.
he often gets them bloody.
Yeah.
The second is Chucky. Chucky is also famous for using, kitchen knives.
Yeah.
So I think that the Chucky remix definitely is in play.
Chucky came out last year.
And it was a very fun maze. They have all those animatronics that they're going to want to
Yeah.
reuse, so I could definitely see them reusing them. Could also see Michael Myers come back to the event. He's always a big headliner. His maze always has a huge weight. It's funny, people who are really in the community, they hate Michael Myers coming back. He's been there so much, they're really tired of it. I don't mind it. I like him.
He's iconic, which is
It's
not a bad thing.
Halloween Horror
Yeah.
Nights, and he is the Halloween slasher. So I
Yeah,
like
he's the
I like seeing Michael.
I feel like he's the one who started this whole
He really did.
yeah.
Yeah. Not Black Christmas, as we learned.
Oh,
Definitely not for a slasher.
you told me we were not going to bring that up
Nah.
again.
So the last one, I'm going to talk about this kind of in conjunction with the last one because I have a very just hang with me for a second. So the last one is the stars and some moon. So it's a nighttime theme.
What kind of moon though? Crescent?
Crescent.
There
Yes,
we
a
go.
very thin crescent moon. So I have two ways it's going to go. So they have all these animatronics. So they're going to want to reuse them. So either they're using Chucky for this one, and this is something else. But what little creature could be an animatronic that you are not supposed to feed after midnight when there's a little star and moon out?
Gizmo?
Could be Gremlins. The Gremlins is still alive. It's still a live theory out there.
Come on, Gizmo.
We're hoping for Gremlins, in which case it would make sense to then put Halloween in the other one.
No. Dude, if they do Gremlins, this is seriously going to be an 80s.
Yeah, they do Gremlins, Lost Boys, Beetlejuice, Ghostbusters, Halloween. That would be such a. I mean, I would love they would all 80s.
This is going to be an 80s night. This is definitely
And
going
they
to be.
released the logo for the Orlando one at least. I don't know if we're gonna have the same logo. There's very punk rock, very loud logo. It's an 80s-ish logo.
Yeah.
So they could just say this is Halloween Horror Nights 80s edition.
Yeah, 40th anniversary,
Yeah.
80s edition.
I would go twice if they did that.
Too bad they don't sell comeback pass.
They do.
I think they do.
I would buy the comeback pass for that. So that's one way it could go. The other way, which ties into some really intense online drama, is the more obvious solution, I think, is the nighttime stars or Nightmare on Elm Street, in which case the knife would then be Chucky. And people were very excited for Nightmare on Elm Street, and there were a lot of leaks and rumors that this was coming because we've never had the original movie of Nightmare on Elm Street as a maze. We've had Freddy versus Jason, and then we had Freddy in the Titans of Terror maze, which is kind of a hodgepodge. We've never
Yeah.
actually adapted just the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. People were very excited for that. And they got so excited that they just told themselves it was coming and they talked about it so much that they got very invested in it. So then a new leak came out that said, Nightmare on Elm Street not coming, canceled, and people were
Lost
pissed.
their
Like they
stuff.
lost it on Twitter and on the forums.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny because before anything's confirmed, it's not confirmed, guys.
Yeah. Freddy Krueger.
There's been stuff, and we try not to talk too much about leaks on this show because we've lost very appealing IP because other IP has leaked out or because it's leaked out ahead of time.
And then the maze had to like quickly change.
Right. That's how we got Pandora's box. If you track me down, I won't say it on the show because this is a big secret actually about Horror Nights that I had to really scour the internet to find this back when it leaked in the first place. But the Pandora's box maze that we had a few years ago was originally meant to be a huge IP for that year, and Ghostbusters leaked out ahead of time. I think it was Pandora's and Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But anyways, Ghostbusters leaked out ahead of time, and the IP holder for this secret IP got so upset about that another IP had leaked that they pulled their IP.
Yeah.
And Pandora's box was a last minute replacement.
Yeah. So I
I think that's the story.
I don't.
So track me down in person sometime. I'll tell you what the idea is. It'll blow your mind because it's super cool.
Yeah. I don't want it to.
And we
be
don't want
too
to be
much.
we don't want to feed that culture too much.
Yeah.
But that's it for the speculative map. So is there anything on there that you, as you've seen it now, I think the first time that comes to mind for you?
Well, it's not the first time I've seen it, but it's the first time we've talked about it in person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited for an 80s theme night at Horror Nights. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, this really could be an 80s
Could be the
Halloween Horror
80s.
Nights.
Larry Larva's got those mutton chops. He could
Yeah.
be 80s.
Yeah, honestly, if it turns out to be an 80s night, I'm gonna go dress like they did in the 80s.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna pop the collar.
hell yeah, pop
Yeah.
the collar, bright shirt.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna bring my one Fingler's glove.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then put on your chucks, get it ready.
So we're going back in time, folks.
Yes, back to the future from there.
All right.
All right.
I think we're just gonna wrap it there because this has gone a lot longer than I thought it was going to.
Yes.
I said this. Let's try to get to 15 minutes, and it's almost an hour. This is why there's a huge chunk of news. That's why I just do an episode. So maybe we'll promote this just episode. I don't know.
I think this is an episode.
I think this has been promoted from mini episode to episode at this point.
Mini-sode to so.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. This year's definitely going to be very interesting. Speculation, the rumor mill is really working hard right now, and honestly,
We're close. We're definitely getting close
Yeah.
to some real announcements, and that'll start to crystallize things, I think.
Murdy needs
I'm
to
gonna
get on
call.
it.
I'm gonna call it right now. Ghostbusters is gonna be the first announcement.
Don't say that because I called it last time that Five Nights at Freddy's was going to be on it for sure.
I'm not saying it's gonna be on. There's my prediction is by the end of May they will have announced Ghostbusters as the first announcement for this year's Horror Nights. Both coasts.
I'll accept that. I'll accept that.
Okay, so looking forward for the Hollywood horror nerds. Our next episode will be out pretty soon, actually. We're going to, what's it called? The Spooky Swap Meet
The
at Heritage
Spooky
Park
Swap
in
Meet,
LA.
yes,
That's
we are.
happening, I think, next weekend.
Yeah, we're going
1 week
next
from
weekend.
today. We're recording this on the 20th.
So expect an episode by next Sunday.
Yes, that'll be rapid fire. There's a bit of a drop for a month, and now we're really shooting them out at you. So if you're going to the Spooky Swap Meet and you're in our listening audience, feel free to say hi. We can say hi.
They don't know what we look like, Ed.
They look what I look like.
Oh, that's right. You
Did
do.
we post my pictures?
I didn't know.
Well, we'll throw my pictures up.
We'll throw your pictures up.
Yeah, I'm the more attractive one.
Sure.
So
The undead one.
We're doing that, and maybe we'll have some extra reviews, some more. I think next time it's not going to be such a news talk. It's going to be a lot more discussion. We're going to look at some movies.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
We're looking
So definitely tune in for that.
our movie episodes of what we enjoy, Spooky Swap Meet, anything we've learned at Spooky Swap Meet, and anything else that might be on the radar.
I'm going to say we're each going to buy one thing, and we're going to talk about them.
It better be haunted. If it's not haunted, I'm disappointed.
It's supposed to be at a haunted location, haunted-ish, and there's supposed to be Halloween merch for sale.
Yeah, we're going on a Saturday.
This was Alvaro found this. He brought this to me. So
Hey.
if it sucks, it's all on him.
Hey. Rude. I wanted to go to that Friday because there's supposed to be some kind of ghost tour, and I thought that it was also on Saturday when we booked it, and then I read again, and it was only Friday.
I also wanted to buy parking ahead of time, but that's sold out.
That sold out immediately.
Yeah, parking went fast. It's LA.
It's LA, yeah.
All right, so that's going to be in a week from now. So be sure to tune back in. I'm sure you want hours and hours of your Hollywood Horror Nerds content, and we're giving it to you.
Thank you for listening.
All right, see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this production of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. We know you have many options for your listening entertainment, and we're glad you chose us. Find us on Instagram at Hollywood Horror Nerds, on X, HW Horror Nerds, and on YouTube at Hollywood Horror Nerds. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite alternative podcast site to ensure you don't miss next week's episode. And until then, stay scared out there.